Hi, good morning. My name is Rick from WTTL. We're based in Devizes. Today I'm going to take you through the Mod 4 course. This is your initial CPC course that you'll be asked to do. There are 5 sections on this course and you'll be asked 1 question on each section. So we're going to go through all the sections today and all the possible questions that you may be asked. This is very much a demonstration on your behalf. So whenever you answer the questions, as much as possible, we need you to demonstrate to us. So the first section is on loading the vehicle, and there is 5 possible questions. You'll get asked one of these questions. So the first question is worded: your fully laden vehicle is ready for you to do a delivery. So can you show me the checks that you would carry out to make sure your vehicle isn't overloaded? If you were still in doubt, what else could you do? One of the first things that you would need to do is check your paperwork, because that should tell you the load, the weight of the load that's been put onto your vehicle. Second thing that you need to do is cross-reference that with your weight plate. I'll show you where that is on the vehicle. What the examiner would want you to do is show him that you know exactly where your weight plate is on your vehicle. So on this particular vehicle, the weight plate is situated just here. You'll find that on literally every single vehicle, it is situated on the passenger side. So it's easy to check if you get pulled over on the roadside. Okay, the information that this gives you is the maximum amount of weight that you're allowed to carry, the maximum amount of weight you're allowed to put over each axle, the length and the width of the vehicle. So far we've checked our paperwork and then we've checked our weight plate to make sure that we're not overloaded. The next thing that we need to do is we can have a check of our tyres. So we'll be checking our tyres to make sure that there is no significant bulging, especially at the bottom. And with twin tyres like this, with twin wheels, we would also be looking in between the tyres to make sure that they're not kissing. If the 2 tyres are making contact, then that is a good possibility that you are potentially overloaded. Final thing that we could do, if we were still unsure as to whether we were overloaded or not, would be take the vehicle to the local weighbridge. When I'm thinking about my answers for this question, because the question relates to the weight that's been put onto the vehicle, what I try to get in my head is key words. So for me, the key words in my answer to the question is paperwork, weight plate, tyres, weighbridge. From those key words, I can then elaborate on my answers. So like I said before, paperwork, I would check my paperwork to see how much has been put on my vehicle. Weight plate, I would cross-reference what it says on the paperwork to my weight plate to ensure I'm not overloaded. Tyres, I'm looking at my tyres to make sure that they're not bulging. And then finally, if I'm not too sure, I'll take my vehicle to the weighbridge. There is another question in this section that, although it's worded slightly differently, funny enough, the answers are exactly the same. And the way that this question is worded is: how would you check the maximum authorised mass of this vehicle? What other checks would you carry out to make sure that the vehicle is not overloaded? If you're still in doubt, what else would you do? So again, the answers would be: check your paperwork relating to the load, check the vehicle design plate, the weight plate, check your tyres to ensure that they're not bulging too much, and if you're in doubt, take it to the weighbridge. Another question that you may get asked on this section is: you're about to make a very long journey beyond the fuel range of this vehicle. Can you show me what checks you would make to this vehicle's fuel system and explain what precautions you would take to make sure you don't run out of fuel? First thing we would like you to do is take us into the cab and show us that you're checking the fuel gauge. So what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating to the examiner I know exactly where the fuel gauge is on my instrument panel. So all I need to do is make sure that the handbrake is on, make sure that the vehicle is in neutral, put the ignition on. On this particular vehicle, fuel gauge is located on the left screen at the bottom. So currently this is telling me I have just under half a tank of fuel. 2 parts of my answer actually bring me round to the fuel tank. First one is I'm checking the actual condition of the fuel tank to make sure that the mountings are in good condition, the fuel tank isn't damaged in any way, and very importantly, I'm making sure there is no signs that there's been any fuel leaks while the vehicle has been sat. Second takes me to actually the fuel cap. What the examiner would like you to do is just explain that you would remove the fuel cap and just do a visual check. So if the fuel gauge told you had a full tank of fuel, you're just doing a visual check to make sure that what is in the tank corresponds with what the gauge tells you. The last part of the answer for this question is covering the part that says, explain what precautions you would take to make sure that you don't run out of fuel. So literally every company should give you a fuel card. But as a professional driver, you would also make sure that you have some form of backup so you don't get stranded. So personally, I would carry my own credit card with me and possibly some cash as well. Another question that you may get asked in this section is, you've delivered part of your load and are left with half a load of empty roller cages inside your box van. Can you show me by pointing to the correct distribution area on this vehicle? Now this question is in 3 parts. Part A is where the load should be placed. Part B, which restraining device you should use to secure the load. Part C, how would you secure the load with the restraining device? So in answer to part A, where this load should be placed, the load should be placed at the front of the vehicle up against the headboard. Part B of this question is which restraining device you would use to secure the load. So what we do is we take you over to what we refer to as the shark cage and ask you to select the restraining device you would use to secure the roller cages. I have 2 options in this instance. I can use either the load restraining bar or I can use the ratchet strap. So I'm now going to select one at a time and demonstrate to you how to put this piece of equipment on. Firstly, I'm going to use the load restraining bar. Nice easy piece of equipment to use. Place it into the cage. What you need to do is leave about a finger's distance, a little bit of a gap there. And then when you pull this lever over, it should expand and lock in. If it doesn't lock in, that means you haven't left enough gap. So open it up again, leave a little bit more room this time, bring that lever over, lock it down in, and it locks in on this clip here. That shouldn't go anywhere now, so that's demonstrated I've put it on properly and it's secure. Then I need to demonstrate how to take it off. A little bit of downward pressure on this lever, remove the retaining clip, bring the bar back up, take it off, place it back on the floor. The second restraining device that I could use for the roller cages, if I wish to, is the ratchet straps. So I'm going to select the ratchet straps and show you how to place them on. On the side of these roller cages, there are hooks for us to use to put the ratchet straps onto. Ratchet straps are rolled and the hook should always be on the outside, not on the inside. Throw the strap over, attach it to one of the hooks. Make sure that the hook is upwards. Grab your ratchet strap, feed it through the gap. Into this restraining hook. I've got all of this up the top here, so it's making it a lot easier for me to use this strap now to tighten it up. Lock that back into position. Tidy up the loose end. So that's just a demonstration on how to use the ratchet strap. Then you need to demonstrate how to take the ratchet strap off. Pull the lever down, release it all the way up to the top until you hear it click. That's opened the strap. Close that back up. And then finally roll the strap up. Remember, the hook stays on the outside. Don't put the hook in the middle. The reason for that is if you throw it over a load, the hook may hit somebody on the other side of the vehicle, and you don't want that. And that's it on that section there for roller cages. Final question that you may get asked in this section. You've been asked to collect half a load of steel plate on an empty vehicle. Can you show me by pointing to the correct distribution area on this vehicle? Again, this question is in 3 parts. So A, where the load should be placed. B, which restraining device you would use to restrain the load. C, how would you secure the load with the restraining device using the load securing trolley? So in answer to A, where the load should be placed, correct distribution area. So the load must be evenly distributed or centrally located on the headboard. Now we're going to go to the restraining trolley. Section B on this question relates to which restraining device you would use to restrain the load. So in this occasion, I'm going to be selecting the chains because it's steel. Section 3 on this is how would you secure the load with the restraining device using the load securing trolley. So now again, I need a demonstration on how to put it on and then how to take it off. Yeah, so for the steel plate, we're going to select the chains to secure the load. Now we're going to demonstrate how we would secure the load using the chains. So we have our chain here and we have our ratchet here. So firstly, we're going to put the chain across the cage, again using the same hooks that we used on the ratchets. Opening the clip up, putting the chain in, bringing the chain across, bringing the rest of the chain down into the middle of the cage. Important to make sure that your chain is not twisted and that the hook is in the upwards position on both sides. Okay, then select the ratchet. Make sure that this ratchet is fully open. It's no good to you if it's closed. You want to place this on the chains as high as possible, linking them together. Once that's on, we're going to ratchet it tight. On this, as you move the ratchet away from you, the bar should slide through your hand, and then hold it tight while you bring the ratchet back towards you. As we've tightened that, it's pulled these two in. The chain is nice and tight. That's demonstrating how to put it on. Now to take it off, there is a little clip on this ratchet strap that you need to push in, and then you ratchet in the opposite direction to loosen it. Once you've got it fully open, take your ratchet off the chains, remove your chains from the cage. So just to recap, section 1 relates to the loading of the vehicle. 2 of the questions are weight related, so it's the weight that you're carrying. 1 of the questions is fuel related, so it's ensuring you have sufficient fuel and means of payment should you run out of fuel during a long journey. 1 is related to carrying empty roller cages, selecting the correct restraining device and demonstrating how to use that device. And then 1 is related to a load of steel plate, where to position it on the vehicle, selecting the correct restraining device, demonstrating how to use that device and how to take it off. Okay, we're going to go on to section 2 now, which relates to the security of the vehicle and its contents. So one of the questions that you may get asked is, you need to leave your vehicle. Where might you consider parking it? And explain what safety checks and security precautions you would take. So initially, where might I park the vehicle? I'm only going to try and park my vehicle in a secure, well-lit vehicle park. Where possible, I would park with the rear doors up against a wall or up against another vehicle, just to try and prevent people from being able to access my load. Secondly, I would remove my keys and obviously lock the doors. Once I've done that, If they were fitted, I would activate any alarms or immobilizers. And then finally, I would do a walk around security check. And what I'd be looking for is to make sure that all the doors, all the windows, including the sunroof, are shut. And that if there are any security seals on the vehicle, that they were intact. Some security seals have a specific number on them, so I would make a note of that number. And then when I came back to the vehicle, I would check it just to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. Another question that you may get asked in this section is, you are about to drive a high-sided vehicle on an unfamiliar route. Can you show me the visual checks you would make before starting your journey? If there is any doubt of the vehicle's height, what else could you do? If you are involved in a railway bridge strike, what action should you take? So to answer the first part, the visual checks I would make before starting my journey is I would check my height marker, which will be inside of the cab. On this particular vehicle, the height marker is in the center there just by the light, and it's telling me that we're traveling at 13'6". If there was any doubt in my mind as to the height being correct in relation to what the vehicle sign tells me, I would look to measure my vehicle at the highest point, but ensuring that I am on level ground. When it comes to planning a suitable route, I'd be looking to make sure that there were no height restrictions, such as low bridges. If I was involved in a railway bridge strike, I would need to call the railway authority and give them the information that was on the bridge ID plate, and then also call the police. Another question that you may get asked in this section is, you've been given a different vehicle to drive for the day. So can you please show me all the practical and visual safety checks you would make before driving this vehicle? So this answer to this question is ever so much a demonstration on your behalf. So the first thing we'd like you to do is get into the truck and do a cockpit drill. Main reason for that is when you start work in the morning, you need to put your tacho card in to record your duties. So as I said earlier on, you need to get your tacho card in first. So on this particular truck, my tacho machine is up here. So I'll be putting my tacho card in slot 1 with the face down and the chip up, and then I'll be following any instructions on the screen that I need to. Usually that's asking you if you need to do a manual entry. Once I've done that, then I'm going to carry on with all my vehicle checks. So make sure my handbrake is on, make sure that the vehicle is in neutral, turning my ignition on. I'm looking to make sure that all the warning lights come on, and then that all the warning lights go out. I'm looking to see if there are any warning messages in the right hand side. Looking to make sure that my gauges give me a reading, so I'm checking my AdBlue, checking my fuel, checking my air tanks, and then also I'm going to scroll through the menu and check the oil to make sure I have sufficient oil, and it's telling me that my engine oil level is good. Different vehicles, you'll have different instrument panels, different layouts, so you need to familiarize yourself with your particular vehicle. Now I've done that, I can go through any other vehicle checks now. So I'll be checking my windscreen washers and wipers to make sure that they activate and clean the windscreen properly. Checking my horn, make sure that it actually works. Checking my mirrors, making sure that they're clean, clear, there's no damage, and that they are firmly fixed to the vehicle. Checking my height marker, make sure I know exactly how high I'm traveling. To check the width and the length of the vehicle, when I get out and do my walk around check, I'll be having a look at my weight plate, and that'll tell me that information. So just checking also my windscreen and windows, making sure that they're clean, clear, there's no obvious signs of any damage, any defects, but also that there's no mascots or stickers that are obscuring my view. Checking my seat to make sure that it is in good condition and that I can adjust it properly. Just before I get out of the vehicle now, I'm going to turn on as many lights as I can so that when I'm doing my external walk around check, I can be checking my lights at the same time. So on this particular vehicle, turning all my lights on, my fog lights, my side lights, my headlights and my hazard lights. So they're all active. Now when I get out, I can do my light check as well as all my external checks such as tyres, wheel nuts, body. Okay, now I've done my internal checks, I'm just going to do a full walk around check to make sure that everything on the vehicle is safe, roadworthy and legal. So just making sure that door panels secure, side compartments are secure, tyres, looking to make sure there's a minimum of 1 mil tread depth across 75% of the breadth of the tyre in a continuous band around the whole tyre. When it comes to the sidewalls, Looking to make sure there's no bulges, no cuts, no exposed cord, no protruding objects. Also looking to make sure that it's not bulging at the bottom too much as well. Could be a sign that it's got a slow puncture or partially deflated. Wheel nuts, doing a physical check, anti-clockwise turn obviously, just to make sure that they are all secure. Using my handy torch, having a look inside, checking the suspension as best I can, making sure that there are no obvious signs of damage or deterioration. Mud guards, spray suppression, making sure they're all in good condition. My indicator's working, which is good. Side marker's working, happy days. AdBlue cap is on, so that's all good. Markers are working, indicator lights, side lights. Mud guards, good condition, no signs of damage. Each wheel, again, checking to make sure sufficient tread depth. Wheel nuts are secure. Marker lights working. Because we're on an Arctic, ensuring that the fifth wheel is secured in and that the dog clip is secure. So that all looks good. And carrying on around the vehicle, also whilst I'm walking around, I'm continually listening out for any air leaks or anything. Air lines running up and down the entire length of the vehicle. We've got the main air tanks at the back of the tractor unit here as well. Making sure that the lights are clean, no signs of damage, and that they're all working at the moment. Marker lights working. All panels are secured to the vehicle. There's nothing loose that could fall off and endanger other road users. Marker lights working, panels are secure. At the back here, I'm also going to be looking through at the inner tyres on the other side to make sure there's no signs of damage, but also I'm looking out to see if there's any bulges. At the same time, I'm looking to see if the airbags are in good condition. Again, looking to see if there's any bulges or signs of damage. Making sure the spray suppression is in good condition, making sure it's not hanging off. This marker light is out, so this will be reported as a defect, and then that'll go in for maintenance and they'll get that replaced. This panel is on a hinge, so I want to be particularly sure that this is secured. And when I'm at the back of the vehicle, I'm just having a good look down the entire length of the vehicle. Again, looking to make sure that it's roadworthy, no obvious signs of damage, nothing that could fall off and endanger other road users. I'm happy that this side of the vehicle is in good condition. I've just got one defect to report. Now I'm going to go around to the back of the vehicle. At the back of the vehicle, I tend to start at the top, work my way down. So checking that my marker lights are working, checking I've got the reflective tape on the back, working down to the light clusters, making sure that they're in good condition, there's no obvious signs of damage, they're not cracked, not broken, they're not hanging off, and that all the lights that I have put on are actually working. Ensuring that my number plate is visible, it's in a proper number plate holder, and that it is got a light attached to it. And then from the back here, I will also have a good look underneath. Again, I got a good view of the tyres, the inner tyres. I can see the airbags on the back. I can see the spray suppression. I can see the tyre tread. So it's a real good view from the back on the underside. Once I've done that, I will then check my load. I need to make sure that the load corresponds with what I'm supposed to be delivering, but also that it's loaded properly and that it's secure. So I'm happy that that load is loaded properly and it's secure. So I'm going to shut the door back up. Making sure that that is secured. Happy the back of the vehicle is okay, so I'm now going to carry on down to this side of the vehicle. This side of the vehicle, I'm pretty much going to replicate what I've done on the other side of the vehicle with a few exceptions. So we're going to work our way down, and the additional pieces of equipment I need to check, I'll explain to you. So carrying on, checking all my panels, checking all my marker lights, checking the condition of the body, marker lights, reflectors, mud guards, tyres, wheel nuts, spray suppression, checking in on the suspension. Also looking across on the inner tyres on the other side. Carrying on down, marker light's good, panel's secure. This side we have our winding handle for the trailer. So making sure that one, it's there, and two, that it is secured. Carrying on down. I've also got the ministry plate on the trailer on this side, so making sure that it's present. It's underneath the flap there. Make sure my lights are all in good condition. Mud guards, tyres, wheel nuts, spray suppression. Checking my fuel cap, making sure that it's on and it's secure. Checking the condition of the fuel tank, making sure that there's no signs of damage, that all the mountings are in good condition. Having a look underneath, making sure that there's no obvious signs that there may be a fuel leak. Checking that the parking brake for the trailer is off. And then I'm going to climb up onto the gantry and check my airlines. Checking to make sure that all my electrical lines and my air lines are secured and on properly. Yeah, both at the trailer and the tractor unit. Again, listening out for any air leaks. Happy that they're all secure. Locking that back into position. Having a look down the body, again looking to make sure that there's no obvious signs of damage. Checking that there's nothing that looks like it's loose that it could fall off and endanger other road users. Marker lights at the front of the trailer, making sure that they're working, fully functional. Last tyre check. Mirror's okay, mirror's secure, doors are shut, panels are secure. Checking to make sure the windscreen is in good condition. Because this is an Arctic, I would need a ladder, but I would climb up, just pull the wiper blades out, run my fingers down them to make sure that the blades were in good condition. I did an internal check, so they seem to be working fine. Seem to clear the screen okay. All the lights are working that I've turned on. Everything seems to be in good condition. This vehicle's good to go. Section 3 covers the preventing of criminality and the trafficking in illegal immigrants. There are 3 ways that they could word the question, but luckily the answer is exactly the same. So the way that they could word the question is, you've parked at a border crossing and left the vehicle unattended. Show me what checks you would make before driving the vehicle through customs. Or, you've had a comfort break before boarding a cross-channel ferry. Show me what checks you'd make to this vehicle before driving through customs. Or finally, they could word it, you've parked at the docks and following a rest break, you suspect your vehicle may have been tampered with. Show me what checks you'd make around and inside your vehicle before continuing your journey. So like I said, the answer to any of those questions is exactly the same. What we need you to do and what you need to do is demonstrate thoroughly all the areas that you would check to show that you're looking to make sure that nobody's placed any drugs or anything like that on your truck, or also that there are no illegal immigrants present, okay? So what I tend to do is go straight inside the truck to make sure that nothing's been put inside the truck first. From ground level, just looking to make sure that none of my door panels have been disturbed. So they could easily pull those door panels off and hide packets of drugs behind them. Check in, make sure that firstly it's not loose, but then also opening it to make sure nothing's been placed in there. Making sure that none of my belongings have been disturbed. You've usually got tools, cleaning kit, etc. in there, so make sure that nothing has actually been placed in there. Secure that back up. And then going into the vehicle. Okay, and then once we're inside the vehicle, looking to see if anything has been disturbed, but I'm also going to do a thorough check of all my lockers. So, looking inside all my lockers to make sure that nothing has been disturbed. And there is nothing in there that should not be in there. Nothing that isn't mine. Also, in all of the trucks, this seat won't be here. This is here purely for training purposes, but the bed would be down. So I will be checking to make sure that nothing has been disturbed on the bed, but then I would also lift the bed up to make sure nothing has been placed underneath the bed. We also have areas like this where things could be hidden. Make sure none of the panels have been disturbed. A good thorough internal check to make sure that there is nothing here that shouldn't be here. Once I'm happy with that, I will get out and do an external check walking around the truck. Making sure that the mirror backs haven't been displaced. Making sure that because they could easily pop those off and hide drugs behind them. As you're walking around, for me, if there's anywhere that you could possibly fit a tennis ball or a child's hand, there is the potential that something could have been put in there. So, checking all the little holes in the tyres, having a good thorough check underneath the wheel arches. Moving down, got AdBlue on this vehicle here, so I'd be taking the cap off, having a look down in to make sure there's no little packets of drugs. Making sure that none of these panels have been disturbed. They could take the panels off, hide drugs again, put the panels back on, and then basically systematically work your way down the vehicle. When it comes to the body of the vehicle, try and remember, check on top, check in the middle, check underneath. So as you're working your way down, be thorough. So working our way down, at the moment mostly my checks will be on the underside. Here I'm looking to make sure there are no packets of drugs, but I'm also looking to make sure there's nobody hanging off the underside. Then step back and have a really good look on top to make sure that there's nobody actually laid flat on top of the vehicle. Another place that they'll be hanging on for dear life. When you're satisfied there's nobody on top, come round to the back of the vehicle. If there was a security seal on it, obviously I wouldn't be able to open it. If there was no security seal on it, then I would absolutely definitely open it. I would then explain that I would physically get up there and check to make sure that nothing has been hidden up there, but also looking to make sure that there's actually nobody in the vehicle itself. Okay. Also, on some trailers, the roof is actually just fiberglass, so you'd be looking to make sure that there are no cuts or no holes where somebody could have gone down into the truck. And then also a good thorough look underneath. Have a look underneath again. You're looking to make sure that nothing has been hidden on the underside, but also that there is nobody hanging on the underside. Carrying on down this side of the vehicle, going to do exactly the same as I did on the other side. Stand back, have a look, make sure that there's nobody on top because I got a good view on this side. Come back to the vehicle and then start checking all the way down on the underside. It's really important to remember when you're doing your trailer check, when you're checking the body of the vehicle, try and remember top, middle and bottom. Demonstrate you're looking on top, check the inside if there's no security seals, and make sure you have a thorough look on the underside. When you get round here, again, same as we did with the AdBlue, but this time with the fuel cap. We want to take the fuel cap off and explain that we'd be looking to make sure there are no packets of drugs hidden on the underside. And then just carry on around to the front of the vehicle, make sure our side lockers, again, checking to see if there's anything in there. Nothing untoward. Door panel again from the ground level. And these panels, all look in good condition. That's not been tampered with. Mirror back again, making sure that that's not been tampered with. At the front of the vehicle, you would open up the bonnet. Open the bonnet and have a look to make sure that no packets of drugs or anything have been hidden, especially behind places like the air filters, etc. Okay, and then that is basically a nice thorough walk around check, looking for anything that's illegal, whether it be drugs or illegal immigrants. But just to recap on section 3 for you, preventing criminality and trafficking in illegal immigrants. 3 different ways that they could word the question, but the answer is basically the same. What you need to do is demonstrate a good, thorough check of the whole vehicle, demonstrating you're looking for illegal substances or people hanging on the underside or on top of the vehicle. So do a thorough check of your cab, and then when it comes to the body of the vehicle, try and remember top, middle and bottom. Check on top, check inside if there's no security seals, thoroughly check underneath to make sure no one's hanging underneath or anything has been hidden. Going on to section 4 now, assessing emergency situations. And there's only a couple of questions that I could ask you on this. So the first one is, you're driving on a motorway and flames appear from the engine compartment. How would you deal with this small electrical wiring fire? Which is the appropriate extinguisher to use on this fire? The most obvious and first answer should be, if I'm driving down the motorway and flames appear, I'm going to pull over onto the hard shoulder as quickly and as safely as I possibly can. I'm going to remove my keys because that should isolate the electrical system because it's an electrical fire. If I was to fight it, I would use a CO2 or a powder fire extinguisher. Other than that, I would call the emergency services, especially the fire brigade. Nice and simple one, that one. Pull over quickly, safely, remove keys to isolate the electrics, using a CO2 or a powder should you fight the fire yourself. Other than that, get the emergency services as soon as possible, obviously the fire brigade. The other question that they could ask you on assessing emergency situation is very much a demonstration. So the question is, you suspect a brake fault on this vehicle. Can you show me what checks you can carry out to make sure the compressor is working properly, and any checks you can make to identify the air leaks? So for this one, we need you to demonstrate dumping the air out of the system, building the air back up, making sure the compressor is working, and then checking for air leaks. So initially this is going to lead us into the truck so that we can check our air gauges, and by pumping the brake pedal, dumping all the air out. Okay, so when you get up into the vehicle, what we want you to do, make sure the handbrake is on, make sure it's in neutral, turn the ignition on so that your gauges that show you how much air is in the tanks give you a reading. And basically, by pumping the brake pedal, dump the air out of the system. Now the air has been dumped out of the system, to show that we know how to make sure the compressor is working, we can turn the engine on and allow the air to build back up. So now that I can see that the air pressure has built back up, because it's gone from red into green, the very, very important thing you need to do is turn your engine off, then press your brake pedal and just listen out for any leaks. Just hold it for a couple of seconds to make sure you can't hear anything. Once you've done that, we need to get out of the vehicle and do a full walk around check, just listening out for any air leaks. What you need to do now is do a thorough walk around the vehicle, pointing out the areas where you may hear air leaks. So especially on an Arctic, you've got your air lines, you've got your main tanks on the back of the tractor unit, and then you've got air lines running all the way down the body of the trailer, and then you've also got your airbags. So point out those areas to the examiner where you think you may hear an air leak from. Walk all the way around the vehicle, finishing at the front, because at the front you also may hear some air leaks at the bottom of the brake pedal. So just to recap on section 4, assessing emergency situation. If it's the one to do with fire, how would you deal with it? Pull over safely, isolate the electrics by removing your keys, use a CO2 or a powder extinguisher should you fight it. Other than that, contact the emergency services as quickly as possible, obviously the fire brigade. And the other question would be, if you suspect a brake fault, dump the air out of the tanks, build the air back up, that shows the compressor is working. Most importantly, turn that engine off once the air is built back up, press the brake pedal, listen out for any air leaks, and then take a thorough, full walk around the vehicle, pointing out the areas that you may hear air leaking from. Finally, section 5 is on the ability to prevent physical risk. The question is, can you show me and explain the daily safety checks that you would make to this vehicle before driving on the road? At the back of the booklet that you are given, there is a daily defect sheet report. That is there for you to use to answer this question. We strongly advise you use this because all the answers are actually there. Working from this checklist, please remember the questions that we ask you, the answers are very much a demonstration. So when you're using this checklist, don't stand there and read it, also show us what you're doing. It's very, very much a demonstration on your behalf. And that's with every single question. If you can demonstrate it, demonstrate it. Okay, so just to round up what we've covered, Mod 4, there are 5 topics. You're going to get asked 5 questions. Please remember, treat each question as if it was your first question, because some of the answers on each question do tend to overlap, especially when it comes to checking the fuel tank and the fuel cap. So even though on the one question you may have answered and fuel cap, and the next question that will also come into that answer. So treat each question as an individual question. If you have anything that you need to ask your instructor while you're with us for training, ask away. If while you've been watching this video, questions have come to mind, write them down, bring them with you, and then when you meet your instructor, go through them with him.